Well, I mean, since we're on this topic of characters design, I might as well bring in the other characters you see at the beginning of the first comic of Tales of Avalon, uh, where we're introduced to a bunch of to basically the audience surrogate, which are a bunch of children. Narratively speaking, one of the ways you can tell a story is to either have the audience project themselves into a character or to have them project themselves into basically what is a third party, somebody that is listening to an on I wouldn't really necessarily say like an omnipotent narrator, but a narrator nonetheless who is telling them a either an abridged version or a full version of a story. And I mean, technically speaking, when you read a book, what you're dealing with is that the author is the uh, inherent uh, omnipotent narrator who is explaining not only the world, but what is going on in the world, and uh, and laying down the plot and the characters and things like that. So what we have here are basically a bunch of different children who function as an audience surrogate. They are the ones listening to Delilah's story, or well, not just her story, but there are other narrators whom they interact with. And they are meant to be, as I said before, the audience surrogate. And we have, different, uh, I mean, different children of, I guess, different species. I mean, you've got yeah, you've got two jackals, two hyenas, and two foxes, and they're all um, uh, young and inherently expressive and curious about not only the world but the stories that are being told to them through the various different narrators. And when it comes to an character design specifically, again, the main thing to focus on is keeping the designs simplified enough to where they are easy to replicate, not only for the artists but for cosplayers and things like that. And so long as you keep that general idea in mind, you can basically generate a character that is inherently, I guess, well liked. And for the most part, a lot of people, well, like children, especially. I mean, just look at Bluey. They uh, people enjoy not only projecting themselves into the character of like little children like to like to project themselves into the character of Bluey and Bingo, but and at the same time you also have adults that inherently inject themselves not only into Bluey and Bingo, but they also inject themselves into the parents because they can see character traits and personality traits that align with either one group or both groups, depending on the inherent scenario. But if you notice, there all the designs are kept generally simple as possible. Again, the work was done by Betsy Nichols, who is a fantastic artist. She is on Instagram. She is on Blue Sky. I know she was on Twitter, but she doesn't really do much there anymore. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but uh, and she and I have been friends for, I mean, good lord, years. Same with Dutch. I'll probably have to throw in some stuff of his at some point. But if you, but for those of you who don't know Dutch, ask Critical Drinker. He is a big fan of specifically some of Dutch's animations because he's done some voiceover for Dutch. Uh, now that I'm sidetracked, I should probably get back inherently to the design of the characters. Again, dealing with anthropomorphic characters, you have a lot more range of expression. When in the last video, I didn't really bring up one thing, which is not only do anthropomorphic characters have ears and eyes, but they can also bring in tail movement to, and it's not just like tail movement, but like um, well, tail move. Oh, I mean, you can bring in tail movement. You can also bring in the inherent, I guess, fluffiness level of tails. Anybody that has ever had a cat knows exactly what I'm talking about. Like when a cat gets frightened or scared, their tail will fluff out or puff out to the point where it basically stays like that for several minutes until the fur, um, I guess, lays back, until the fur lays back down. And it's a good way of expressing fear or anxiety, along with the ears. Like you can do a lot of things with the ears. You can also do a lot of things with the nose to express the same kind of sentiments. But I mean, looking at the characters, and it's been a little bit of time since I've actually looked at them, but like all of them are kept as inherently uh, simple when it comes to design and color as possible. You can kind of tell who's related to whom to a certain degree based on color scheme. I think the most uh, I wouldn't really say different, but like the most, how would I put this? Complex design in there is the jacket girl with the yellow, with the golden freckles. Again, but the design is inherently meant to reflect her parents, but at the same time, those freckles add just a little bit of uh, inherent uniqueness because if she didn't have those, she'd look exactly like the other uh, um, jackal boy in the center of the picture. So it kind of breaks that up when it comes to identifying which character is which. And I'm just trying to think of more things to say, but it's well, kind of on the spot here. I won't lie. I actually am recording this without any kind of script or anything like that. So yeah, you get to hear me saying "fuck it," I'm doing it live. Anyway, um, but generally speaking, you can kind of tell who is inherently related to who based on color palette. Same thing goes with some of the other characters. You can definitely tell who is uh, whose child is whose and things like that. And especially if you're dealing with characters that like if you've read Game of Thrones, you know that well certain inherent traits are passed down genetically. What Targaryens always have uh, platinum hair, or even Targaryen bastards will have some kind of Targaryen trait within them. Usually it shows in the hair. It's one of the reasons why, if you've read the novels or listened to the audiobooks, you'll know that uh, that there's a reason why the Tyrion is the third head of the dragon is so popular because in the books and even well in the books and in the audio dramas Tyrion has he does have golden hair but he has platinum streaks within that hair itself. Uh, and it's also one of the reasons why people think that the Danes are possibly not necessarily Targaryen, but have a Valerian ancestry because Danes are known for their purple eyes, and it's something that actually comes up in in the comic itself that, well, certain characters mainly like eye color is meant will be mentioned, that certain characters are inherently uh, prone to passing on certain genetic traits, specifically like eye color, and not necessarily like hair color, but you can, or, but there's also other things like, you can end up with lighter or darker tones in fur color, certain kinds of fur patterns, but that inherently is a part of the world building itself. Um, I My understanding is that uh, basically uh, Zootopia kind of operates on the same idea as like, I shouldn't say large swaths of the furry fandom, because like uh, there's parts of me that absolutely can't stand parts of the furry fandom, but there's definitely like, if you've ever seen like hybrid characters of, say, like a lion and a goat, where the lion will be a normal lion but will have goat horns. Well, it's kind of the same idea, minus, at least that's what I've heard with Zootopia. But uh, the way that we set up our world is that, uh, generally speaking, uh, children will inherit most of their traits from either, well, basically the children will either be similar to one or the other parent. If you have, if you remember like Looney Tunes, or even uh, the old Hanna-Barbera cartoons, where, let's say, well, I mean, a good example is, God, this is a reach. If anybody remembers the really, really, I shouldn't say really old. I mean, I'm gonna date myself here. But if you remember the Huckleberry Hound made for TV movie that Hanna-Barbera made back in, I think it was like the 80s or 90s, where it's basically um him, God, he eh, there it's an inherently long film based off of a pun of Clint Eastwood, where he becomes the sheriff, and then he gets his ass handed to him by the biggest baddie in town. He loses his memory, and he ends up running into an Indian chief's daughter. And at the end of the film, of course, they, well, I mean, they do what all mammals do, and like half their kids are blue and half their kids like, and well, I should probably put context to this. Like, her skin is yellow, his skin is, like, I shouldn't say skin, his fur, like, her fur is yellow, his fur is blue. And at the end, when everything is settled, they settle down on a farm to raise goats and pigs, and a family. And it's actually literally a line at the end of the film, and like half their kids are blue, half their kids are yellow. So it's kind of the same deal here, where we went with the idea of that, like, it's kind of a flip of a coin of whether or not a child is going to be getting their inherent traits from either their mother or their father. So, but I mean, the most general analysis is that if you're, that in our universe, if you're a girl, you're more likely to inherit the same look as your mother, and as a boy, you're going to inherently look like your father. That is not in, but that, again, and just to clarify, that's not entirely the case. Like, I'm fairly sure, if I remember correctly, we have at least one or two characters that look, where they're a girl and they look like their father, and if they're a boy, that look like their mother. But I'm not looking at any scripts right off the top of my head, so I can't exactly speak to the authenticity of that. Even though I am the writer, I'm gonna have to just go full Molly on this one and just say like, look, um, I understand the universe that I helped create to a certain degree, but I'm kind of on the spot here, so uh, I'm not the most necessarily reliable narrator, if that makes any sense. So I can't exactly take responsibility for 99.99999% of what I'm saying right now, if that makes any sense to you, because I'm not looking at any of the scripts